Released an hour and a half ago. And we're going to talk about what happened in 2022 and what to look forward in 2023 when we return. Last session for this year, Brian.
Yes, sir.
And for those that are new on our weekly 1 hour session with the community, my name is Sam Shihab.
I am Brian Burke.
And we're from the law firm of Sam Shihab and Associates. And we are going to talk today about important employment-based immigration law topic. We do that every week, every Monday at 6 o'clock. We also take questions the second half of the hour. And just to let everybody know, we practice immigration law in the U.S. and all over the world. And without further delay, we were debating this weekend, Friday, right? Friday.
We weren't debating.
You were smart enough to take my bet.
We were goading each other all Friday, saying, when is this visa bulletin coming out? When's the visa bulletin coming out? They can't do it next week. They have to do it soon. We thought it would be out Friday.
And I said?
Well, you kept on updating your prediction. You know, Sam. It's going to be out Friday before the day is done, and then on Monday morning I said, Sam, I'm right, and then it was out right before we started this coming into this room to start this presentation.
I don't remember the events to be that.
You just
way.
remember that the visa bulletin came out and you predicted
I've told you that the visa bulletin is coming out Friday or Monday. And you said it's not going to come out for a week.
I said it could possibly not come out for a week. Bottom line,
I don't think I remember the could, and I do not remember the possibly part of this.
I'm an attorney, Sam. I can't give definitive answers on anything. You know.
We got it. We got the visa bulletin about an hour and a half. If you guys didn't look at it, and there is no movement in the EB2 and below, EB3, EB4, EB5. There's no significant movement there. There is a movement in the EB1.
Yeah, I can put it up on the screen for everybody to sort of illustrate the point here.
Yeah.
There it is, and there we are down here. So there it is, EB1 China, gone back to February 2022, a retrogression. EB1 India, gone back to February 2022. A retrogression, and these are the final action dates. So on the slightly brighter side, if you look down to the dates for filing, if anybody was considering filing in the EB1 category for China or India, it's about 6 months backlogged on dates for filing. So perhaps if you have an EB1 case in process, it would probably filed sometime around June, coming to be approved soon. But there goes your ability to concurrently file there. And as you said, right here on the visa bulletin, we compared them. It is substantively identical. EB2 India in October 11, EB3 India in 15th of June 2012. That's really it. And
the notes for the visa bulletin at the bottom, it says, as we have warned you guys. Last session, we are told you that the EB1 is going to retrogression, and we fulfilled our threat by retrogressing it, as we have told you before.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about what that really means. So, previously the EB1 category, Sam, was all CCCCC current, right? Meaning they had more visas in that category than they needed. And when they have more visas in the EB1 category than they need, they roll down to the EB2 category. And so we already haven't seen the EB2 move recently. It's been sort of stagnated. In fact, it's really rolled backwards. And now we're seeing that EB1 is backed up. It means there's effectively less to roll down to EB2.
Yes, not only that, but also January visa bulletin is significant visa bulletin because it's the beginning of the second quarter of the visa availability. If you recall, we had 197 green cards available this year because of the spillover. I think, if I remember correctly, what's the number on the
Like,
spillover?
that's 57,000. Yeah.
57,000 spillover.
Yeah.
So they are going to take the part of the 57,000 and they are going to, and allocate it on the first quarter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And with that allocation, they have decided that there is not enough visas to give more to India or China at the present time in the Eb1 category.
Yeah.
And that is, they kept everything current. But obviously, there is, with the additional, and every quarter they allocate 25% of these extra 57,000. So with that allocation, we see no positive movement for any category, and obviously a retrogression for Eb1.
Yeah, I want to read. There's something I want to just sort of highlight about that bothers me about the statement on the Visa Bulletin and the Eb1 retrogression. It would be something on the end of the Eb2, excuse me, the last Visa Bulletin, but essentially it said, it was a possibility retrogression in the, as I recall, in the Eb1 category for. I guess it bothers me that we goes from current to a year off current.
I hate the word warned.
Yeah.
I mean, why? I mean, the selection
Either is or it
is
isn't.
extremely poor.
Yeah.
I mean, as readers, we're warned. How about we're advised? There was no warning. I mean, there's
Yeah, it either is or it isn't. It's
somebody that doesn't know how to write here. I mean, there's no what warning.
well, yeah. Either the visas are going to be there or they aren't. I guess.
Stupid, but whatever. Fine. So no more Eb1 filing for China or India concurrently at the present time, which means you file the I-140 alone, and then you wait until the visa. Now here's the question I have for you. Can you file an I-140 and transfer of underlying basis?
If you wanted to upgrade to the Eb1 category?
Yeah.
No. Your final action date must be current. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
What about priority date transfer?
What do you mean?
Well, you have an I-140 in Eb2 that have a priority date of, let's say, 2014.
Well, yeah, you can retain that priority date from a prior employment-based case. Yeah.
And then when the I-140 is approved, you can file it.
Yeah, you can do a tub that way if you have a pending adjustment of status.
There's no premium processing available, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are options, limited, obviously more limited now than before.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, we were warned, as they say. We were warned before. So we look forward to hopefully a more positive Visa Bulletin in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this topic as before we started, and fundamentally, I'm still bothered by the massive retrogression on the Visa Bulletin. Means there's just some not miscalculations in the last time around, or gross misestimations of visa demand, and that's still something that sort of sticks in my craw. Because again, at the end of, for those who don't remember, at the end of the last fiscal year, in like August and September, USCIS was pushing visas into the India Eb2 category because they could. And then suddenly, the demand in Eb1 and the demand from the rest of the world is so high that now they're retrogressing they retrogressed India that much, and it's stagnated. Yeah. It doesn't make. I'm an immigration attorney. We have lots of Indian clients, but lots of clients from other countries, and we haven't seen any sort of massive increased employment demand from the rest of the world on our end.
It is not a demand that's been created after the approval. It's a demand in their pipeline that they probably weren't aware of, as we've discussed many times before. But it's a good segue into the Eagle Act.
It is.
Which is, again, was discussed and debated and never didn't get the vote, because usually when you don't get to vote on it, that means when they counted the votes, they did not have the votes to pass it.
Yeah.
And
that's the popular immigration reform topic at the moment, the EAGLE Act.
And if you guys recall, the EAGLE Act removed the 7% per country limitation on a phase-out basis, increased the family-based immigration limit from 7% to 15%, and also allow for an adjustment of status filing after 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's an excellent proposal, because I think it takes you a step closer into a little bit more of a security, I guess, in the process.
However,
yeah,
we were talking about it doesn't really fix the problem.
Well, yeah. So that's just to kind of update people on where it's at.
Sure.
So there's no votes. It is not on the floor to vote in the schedule as of today in Congress, if anybody's following that. And therefore, it doesn't appear to be creating the a momentum where there has been a lot of talk about, this is going to happen. Here we go again, right? Here we go again, getting excited for nothing.
Yeah.
Now, you and I were talking, it removed the 7% per country limitation on a 9-year phase out, but it doesn't fix the problem. What it does, it spreads the pain. And as Chinese and Indian, especially Indian nationals, feeling a lot of that pain, when you spread it, is not a whole lot of pain taken off.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pain being spread, but it's not helping.
Yeah, I mean, they are feeling all the pain, for the record, and they're the only in EB2. They're the only backlogged
significant
countries there are.
And so the problem is not going to be. Don't get too excited about it. Number one, in the 9 years to phase out a 7% per cap is ridiculous, because we have a kind of semi cap backdoor, which is the cross flow. Anyways. So removing the cap in 9 years has no impact on anybody going through this green card process today, except the adjustment of status filed in 2 years, which is wonderful if that can happen. But the problem is solved by removing or doubling taking the 140,000 and make it 280,000.
Yeah, finding some way to impact the availability of numbers, like, for example, only counting the primary applicant was one of the other options there, for example.
Yes, county, remove the ridiculous diversity lottery. We do not need diversity in this country from outside the U.S. Diversity is coming to us naturally through family immigration and employment immigration. And we have a fantastic bunch of people from India coming in, from Asia, who are educated, right?
Yeah.
The visa lottery only requires a high school degree, which is ridiculous. Family immigration is very robust, and a lot of people from various backgrounds are coming to the U.S. So I don't think the diversity visa is something that's useful. Eliminate the diversity visa. One, honestly, let's talk double the employment-based immigration, and perhaps decouple the family-based immigrants from being counted. Those are solutions, the real solutions, real solution to the problem, not a window dressing is what we have here. It's really not a real solution.
Yeah, I mean, I want to comment further on it's tangential, but the family-based backlog. I mean, what's the point of our family preference, immigration system if people can never come? What's the point of it? It's the brothers and sisters waiting 15, 20 years. It just seems, counterintuitive.
Well, the brothers and sisters is a tough one. There's so much of them. There is 2 million in the backlog.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. But be that as it may, the EAGLE Act is not the answer. Now,
Sam, I'm slightly concerned about the state of our stream here, and I hope everybody can still see us, but it just prompted us to log into our streaming service. And it says that people here, it says we're still live. I'm going to presume we're still live.
Can somebody give us a quick confirmation?
No, I can't even see the chat anymore, Sam.
Okay, so we maybe got dropped.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and log in?
Okay, I'm going to end. I'm going to back out, I guess.
No, just log in right here.
All right.
Follow the prompt.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Okay, we're black.
All right, sounds good. Looks like maybe there was a hiccup in the broadcast, and I think we're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So we're talking about the Eagle Act. We're saying that it's really not the answer.
Yeah.
I'm not too excited about it. It doesn't excite me. Removing the 7% has absolutely no impact on the bottom line. The bottom line is it's going to move the backlog 2-3 years, and then it's going to spread the pain across the board.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to be in the same boat. So welcome the rest of the world to the suffering of us.
So the suffering through watching us, if you're interested in learning about it, yeah.
Join in the club in the suffer fest.
Yeah.
And there's no improvement. So it is not. It's garbage.
Yeah.
Fundamentally,
people will still be waiting 10 years to get a green card, but it'll be from a more diverse collection of countries, essentially, you know?
And there's a lot of opposition to it, which I think the opposition, I don't understand. Don't quote me, but I have heard that Ayla is opposing it, but I haven't checked. I haven't been following other people, but I know prominent references have not been happy.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even touched about all the interesting things it does with the H-1B visa program in that bill at all, which I'm sure there's lots of reasons for business folks to be disinterested in that aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
You know, clamping down additional scrutiny on that, you know.
Yeah.
So
be that as it may, that's where the Eagle Act. There's no vote anyways. They haven't voted. They don't even have the vote. It's not on schedule this week, and with Congress being in the, I mean, you know what's going on. You know what happened today in Congress. The President of the United States, the ex-President of the United States, first time in American history, was recommended for criminal indictment.
I just caught that headline before coming in.
And you should hear what the House said about the ex-president watching the riots on TV for over an hour, or hours, I think is the word, hours, and refusing to come and step forward and ask the people to not
disperse.
To disperse. So the country is not focused on what is important. The country is focused on other things right now.
I would agree with that. That's a three-ring circus that it never seems to end. You know, I don't get into politics, but you know, it's a presidential administration that is now 2 years in past, and we still can't seem to escape its, I don't know,
footprint.
Footprint. It feels footprint. It feels like it has come down on top of us and just has mushed everybody into the mud.
And people are not focused on important stuff.
Yeah.
Now, let's take a look at what happened last year, and let's take a look at what.
I want to talk about the positive of this.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of green cards.
Yeah, heck yeah.
275,000 green cards were awarded in 2022.
Yeah.
That's a massive unemployment immigration. 275,000. That's pretty damn good.
I mean, for people, you know, we always hear, it's going to take me 10 years to get a green card. A lot of people got their green cards with 2014 priority dates, you know, in less than 10 years.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yes. So in the prior fiscal year, in fiscal year 2021, 220,000 green cards were issued. 227,000 green cards issued in fiscal year 2022, where normally they only approve 140,000 because that's the allocation because of the spillover. Yeah. We know in fiscal year 2023, we know we have 197,000.
Yeah.
So that seems to be about 300,000 green cards.
Yeah. I'm going to call that a silver. The bottom line is there's, you know, nothing has changed. You know, the number, only more silver linings. People are getting green cards due to COVID. They're getting green cards faster than they might have
otherwise. Bottom line, by a significant margin.
Yeah, I do sympathize with those family preference people who have essentially lost out on them. But people getting employment-based green cards faster, that is a positive thing we've seen over the last couple years. Actively.
USC now backlog. The next issue is backlog struggles and mess.
Yeah.
With USCIS due to COVID and other political-based factors, the prior administration not being interested in streamlining, but more into de-streamlining the process.
Yeah, slowing things down. Like H4 biometrics was something that came out of that intent.
And public charge
rule,
ridiculous requirement in the adjustments, et cetera, et cetera. And COVID put the administration and USCIS in a serious backlog issues. Now, this administration trying to overcome it, it is a mass, it's almost like a tsunami. You're trying to drain a tsunami using a sink drain.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen that quick.
One of the parts of, my job from the very beginning is, talking to people about, hey, how long is this going to take? All the numbers have gone up. I was adjustment of status. It's something. It's
30 months.
Yeah.
29 months in certain service centers.
Yeah.
I-140, 15 months.
Yeah, and this is just not limited to USCIS. I mean, Department of Labor. It is now crept up to still about 6 to 7 months to get a prevailing wage, but about 9 months now to get a labor certification certified. It is crawling to a stop.
Yeah, labor certification is significantly impacted as well by delays.
Yeah, USCIS, Sam, I have to say, is they seem to be doing something. They did a bunch of hiring. They were planning to have I think it was something like 20,000. It was a significant amount of hiring, and they're planning to have those folks on board with the agency by the end of this year. Trained, as I recall, was the number. Good for them. I've been out at USCIS field offices doing interviews, and I've met shiny new officers as they've been doing their new interviews, that sort of thing. So that's good, I guess. How about the Department of Labor, Sam?
Well, the problem with the Department of Labor, Brian, we always knew that, but it really, really got bad, is that they do not collect a fee to do the job. Congress did not allow them or did not create a mechanism in the regulations for them to collect a fee for the service they're providing to the public with regards to the labor certification process. And therefore, they are incapable. They do not have the money to modernize, to expand, to hire.
And I've been hearing, since I was a shiny new immigration attorney, that there was plans for it. They were going to implement that fee, change the labor certification system, implement a fee, and nothing. A new version of the form.
And therefore, we're getting a little bit behind. We are not as bad as the pre-perm world, because before in the pre-perm it was taking years to get a labor certification. And then we're
getting close.
It's exactly. So hopefully that can get turned around soon. They're saying that they're making progress. Now, let's move on to the state of affairs with the consulates, Brian. So they've declared recently that they have now are back to pre-pandemic output.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a far cry from being caught up. That's completely different. And
pre-pandemic
don't confuse
output
them.
meaning we have a bunch of cases that got stopped, and now we're back at the place we were before the pandemic. And essentially, the issue is, well, that's not enough juice to resolve the backlog. That's just enough juice to keep you moving again with a terrible backlog.
What about 1 year 221Gs?
What about stamping appointment times? People are afraid to travel right now.
But I thought you were going to be positive, Brian.
Okay, I'm going to be positive. Here's the positive take on that. There's that proposal out there to get H-1B, get stamping back in the United States, visa stamping back in the United States.
I haven't heard a thing about it.
Well,
forever.
Yeah, it's a proposal. I'm trying to be optimistic, Sam. Don't gray up my silver lining.
I know. I agree. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're trying, but it's hard to do that under the current circumstances. I mean, the State Department backlog remains significant. We're seeing a flashes of recovery. We had this case where the child that was going to turn 18, and we got the visa office on their own initiative to send us an email that says, we are prioritizing this case because of the U.S. Citizenship Act, because of this child gets their green card and enters the U.S. Before that child turns 18, that child becomes a U.S. citizen. And therefore, we are
going to speed this thing up for
expediting.
You. For sure. Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
And fantastic. So this is great news. So we see improvement, but catching up continues to be a struggle across the globe
Yeah.
for the consulates.
Yep.
So
And-
maybe 2023 will be the year in which we will go back to normal volume.
Well, I'll tell you this, Sam, COVID made things really bad in terms of just backlogs everywhere. But the other problem there was, not to talk politics, but it's a big news story about the prior presidential administration was sort of starving Department of State of personnel and resources, and those are the people who run the consulates. And I haven't heard much, maybe that's something I have to research. I haven't heard much into, what are they doing to fix their issues there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Travel and COVID, it has changed. It was strict. The U.S. now does not have you have to be proven negative to enter the U.S.
Yeah.
It was a testing requirement. They call it a testing requirement.
Yeah.
That testing requirement was removed.
Yeah, that was sometime in the
June, I think.
Yeah, I remember happened. I happened to be outside of the United States at the time. Yeah.
So it's called the testing mandate.
Yeah.
That you have to be tested before you enter, and a lot of other countries followed through. And also removed their testing mandate. Now, the vaccination mandate remains in effect, that you have to be vaccinated, fully vaccinated as defined, whatever vaccinated recommended by the FDA.
Yeah.
Okay? And the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
So those are the two agencies that make the recommendation.
Well, executive summary then is, the COVID stuff is sort of fluttering away, right? And
I think so. People are now starting to treat it like any other. People are not getting sick.
Yeah, it is. I haven't checked. I haven't checked the COVID death numbers for a while because they're just less interesting anymore. But unfortunately, with that goes away. What are we looking forward to for the next year in terms of visa availability for employment-based folks? Likely not to see, major rollovers like we've seen this year. So fundamentally, lots of people have gotten green cards faster than they might have ever gotten, but that is going to come to an end.
It has come to an end.
Yeah.
So the conclusion of 2022 that the green card party is over. We're back to normal business.
I was optimistic to see what this visa bulletin was going to say. We mentioned earlier this is when new visas are made available, and those new visas have had no net positive effect on EB2 or EB3, and EB1s rolled backwards. If EB1 rolls backwards, just less movement for EB2. Agreed.
All right, forward-looking.
Yeah.
Forward-looking. So 2023 is going to be an interesting year. Number one, let's face it. I don't know if any news outlet you read, you got pain of the H-1B worker being laid off.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of that going on. Okay. And there's nobody in Congress or the administration that wants to touch it. So you're going through the very narrow options an H-1B worker has, but there are some options, and maybe we should have a presentation. I'm not sure it's relevant or of interest to our people, but maybe it is. All the options under H-1B, which we've discussed recently, but we can bring it back up again. But that's happening. That might continue at least in the first half of the 2023. The hiring numbers are strong.
Yeah.
But the administration is keen on raising interest rate. They want unemployment to go high. That's in their mind, one of the aspects to control inflation is for some reason, to increase the unemployment rate. And that is a goal of this administration, to increase the unemployment rate into next year. Obviously, that is going to impact some people. So 2023 outlook seems to be rough the first half. I think recovering the second half, perhaps. So everybody's saying it's going to be a soft landing. I don't anticipate the green card picture to improve, although there's a lot of green cards left to be given out. 197,000 this year is a big number.
But you're right. Where are they going, Sam? I'm still.
Well, there's still many months of visa bulletin to be released.
Yep.
So hopefully, we see some positive progress.
I'm still maintaining my optimism that I can see some positive movement on the EB2 category.
And with regards to COVID, I think COVID is part of history. I think consulates will go back to normal operating procedure by probably mid 2023.
Yeah, they will eventually clear out their visa backlogs as well. I mean, granted, I understand why their visa application, their visa appointment times are so high. Everybody was afraid to travel for 2 years, and now everybody is out there stretching their legs, as it were.
And final comment, obviously, interconnecting politics with immigration because they are inseparable.
Yeah.
The war in the Ukraine, if it ends in 2023, I think is going to be a fantastic boost to the economy in the U.S. because everybody is nervous in investing money and investing in the market because of the war in the Ukraine and the impact it has on the global demand for oil and so forth and so on. So I think ending the war in 2023 is going to be a fantastic way to
cross our fingers on that one. Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll answer your questions. What about your mouse? Damn, you got one. All right, so this is the time of the presentation when we take a moment and remind everybody that what we do here is to give you general advice on immigration law. We are experienced immigration attorneys, but obviously there's not an attorney-client relationship established as we do not know your case to a level that we can really give an advice that you can rely on. So you should not rely on the general advice we give you, but listen to it. And if you want to make an immigration decision on your case, consult with an attorney of your choice. Without further delay, I see here the first question from
Anonymous. I'll address you by your name, Anonymous.
Yeah. And Brian set me up, by the way, and took my mouse.
Yes.
I have a keyboard, but I don't have a mouse. So.
I'm gonna, there's this mouse. I'm gonna go get it down here. There you are, Sam. There's your mouse. Feel good.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Feel good.
Okay, good. Does it work? Yeah, it works.
Yes.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. I knew something just didn't seem quite right in here.
I think last time this mouse, the battery was installed backward.
Yeah.
Now that is not an accident, Brian. All right. So let's jump into Anonymous's question here.
Do you think we will get to 2014 this fiscal year or next in either EB2 or EB3? Also, I don't know how there's high demand from the rest of the world. Fiscal year 2022 I-140 report shows normal usage.
Thank you so much.
I agree with you, but what I have to assume is that the Department of State, who issues the visa bulletin, has better data than me, right?
Well, it's not. You don't have to assume. You know that.
Well, yes.
The question is whether
I don't know that for sure, Sam. I'm an attorney. I never know anything 100%. Okay, I know some things 100% for sure, but
yes. Go ahead, Brian.
That's it. I don't know how the rest of the world demand is suddenly so high. I always thought that the EB1 backlog would eventually come back, but not like this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so what we got here, Brian, is we got 25% of the 157,000 green cards were allocated.
In the first quarter?
In January.
Oh, yeah, another 25%, yeah.
In January, because they cannot do it the first day because they did not know the numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they have to allocate that in the first quarter when they do the cross flow and the down flow. And we see net zero movement in anything.
No, negative movement in EB1, negative movement.
And the negative movement in EB1.
Yeah.
Now, I am trying to kind of say that it is practically impossible. It's an impossible practicality that not a single date moved a single day.
See, this is
I'm not an idiot. And
this is the sort of talk that I usually say. You say, Brian, the numbers are magical.
There is not a single category that moved a single day.
Yep.
That tells me nobody looked at the numbers.
Well, I thought they were looking at the numbers.
They only look at it's the first. I think they spent a lot of time looking at the first preference, and by the time they figured the first preference, they said, "Hey, time to go home. It's Christmas. We'll deal with it next month."
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, you should be looking at the first preference first because the first preference decides what's going to happen in the second preference. And if demand is really that high in the first preference, I guess you just get to roll back say, I guess the second preference can't move because those first preference guys are eating up all the available
But the
visas.
second preference get their own 28%.
You're right.
Of the 57,000.
Well, yeah, and all those people and they're still going through their cases in EB2 with priority dates before October 8th, 2011.
Not a single day. So you poured 25%, whatever that number, of 57,000 green cards on the visa bulletin, in all the dates except EB1 that moved back, didn't move forward or backward a single day.
Yep.
They didn't look at it. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I don't have the regulation or law in front of me, but it has to be. What is there? It's a reasonable guess is the standard. Is there reasonable?
As long as they allocate all the visas by the end of the year.
Yeah, as long as they allocate all the visas by the end of the year, and this
that's really the mandate.
Yep.
And you can do reasonable estimates throughout the year.
But again, why don't we just move the entire visa bulletin to current? Take everybody's cases. We'll approve the 197,000 easiest ones, and then
shut it down for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Because that seems like what they did in the last fiscal year. They approved the cases they could and just closed it up again.
All right, so let's take the next question.
We
didn't even answer the question. Do
Yeah.
we know it's going to move to I am suspicious.
I'm perpetually optimistic. It seems. I think we can get there. But do you think this is follow up? Do you think you'll get to fiscal year 2014 this fiscal year or next fiscal year? Yeah.
AK, is EAD your proof of valid status to remain in the U.S.? Also, if advanced parole expires, do you have to renew it immediately, or you can just file to get it renewed before the traveling out of the country?
Some great questions.
So this is fantastic questions.
Yeah.
Is the EAD proof of valid status? No, it is not a proof of valid status. It's a proof of work authorization. And when I say that, you're going to look at me and say, you're not making any sense. How can you be proof of work authorization, but it's not proof of status?
Okay.
And the answer to that is your receipt notice of the I-485, if you're not on an H-1B visa, is the proof of your status in the U.S.
Use the term status. It's proof of your lawful presence in the United States, Sam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at that EAD.
Well, it's not a proof of non-immigrant status.
Yeah,
it's proof of status.
It's
in English.
Yeah. And for practical purposes. I mean, looking at that EAD, it is going to say category C09, so you can infer that somebody has a pending adjustment of status, because that's what it'll say. But practically speaking, the EAD does not authorize your lawful presence in the United States.
Second part of the question. So the EAD card is not a status document. It is a work authorization document that is hanging on the I-485, and that receipt notice is really your proof that you are authorized to be in the U.S.
Yeah.
With regard to the second question, Brian, do you immediately have to renew it? No, I would recommend it. Absolutely. You don't even have to renew it altogether.
Yeah. You can, to be clear, you never have to file that EAD or AP. You can file your adjustment of status and just never request those items.
Yeah. But if you want to leave the country and protect that green card, and if you're now on H-1B, clearly you need that valid advance parole to be able to come back to the U.S.
Yeah, get your AP, because who knows if you're going to need it.
If you travel outside the country without an advance parole, and if you're now on H-1B status, you have abandoned.
Or you can't get an H-1B visa to come back. Something goes wrong on that front.
You have abandoned the.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, take that one.
So, is there any exception for the 6-month exam before entering the U.S.? I had my consular interview in July. It was approved, but because of the retrogression, they cannot issue me the visa. Oh, so basically,
what exam?
I don't know what this person means by exam, but it sounds like somebody was in the consular processing of a visa of some sort. I'm going to presume an immigrant visa, and then before they issued it, it retrogressed, and that's that.
Yeah, but so what's the exam?
I'm maybe thinking he's referring. I don't know. I'm afraid I don't know.
All right, so please clarify. I'm sorry we cannot answer the question.
Yeah.
Balaji, I have got some affidavit for birth certificates.
Non-availability.
Non-availability. Typo. I have gotten an affidavit from 2 of my relatives for non-availability of birth certificate. Is there any expiry of that affidavit? The affidavit does not expire. As a matter of fact, the older they are, the better they are. They're like wine. Older wine matures more. So older documents carry more weight than newer documents simply because they're older documents.
Yeah. The older it is, the more likely it is to be true and accurate. And I mean, basically, if you're looking for other evidence to confirm, your birth, they want to see, old school records, old medical records, old government records that would state the same sort of thing that's in your birth certificate.
Yeah. So older documents, yeah. So an affidavit has no expiration date, and older one is even better.
Yeah.
That's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Brian, take that.
From Yes-Ven, priority date December 2013. Current status is case remains pending. Is EB1 retrogression good for EB2/3, or does it mean no spillover? USCIS honored GCs for 2014, folks, skipping early priority date, folks. So, indeed, they did. So, Sam, break these things down. Is EB1 retrogression good for EB2 or EB3?
No, it is not good for EB2 or EB3. What that's telling, well, number one, it's telling me that when they singly backlog 2 countries, China and India, that means they've hit their 7% per country limitation. Now, when you then have extra green cards, you do a cross flow. So you allocate unused green cards and all chargeability to China and India, EB1 first.
So
Okay.
you take the other countries. So if Spain and the United Kingdom aren't using their EB1s, they'll also go into the EB1 China and India, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Until EB1 China and India are current.
Yeah.
So they get first dip at the visa unused in the EB1 category. Once they become current and there's still excess, then they cross down to the second preference. And then they go across and they get allocated to the most backlogged country first, and so on and so forth. So the fact that China and India EB1 are backlogged tells me that at the moment there is no visas flowing down from the first preference to the second preference at all.
Yeah.
And the only visas that second preference is getting, similar to the third preference, is the 28% allocation from the 57,000, because every first, second, and third preference, each one gets a 28% allocation.
Now, I will point out, in terms of who's better off right now, maybe I'll put the Visa Bulletin back on the screen for a minute if I can.
Yeah, please.
Bring up the browser and bring up that and bring up that. There we are. I'm looking at the Visa Bulletin. I'm saying, EB2 is backlogged across the world, from all other countries, your Spain's, United Kingdoms, everybody else is in this boat. China's backlogged, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, India, Mexico, Philippines. Everybody's backlogged. That means, no cross flow amongst EB2, right?
Well, there's no cross flow among the EB, so there's no cross flow among the EB2, correct, but there is a 28% every quarter.
Yeah.
There's 28% of that 57,000.
Yeah.
So that was allocated in January, and that's why I'm surprised there was no movement.
Yeah.
So when you allocate those 28,000, they go to the most backlogged country, but there's no movement. There's no movement.
I guess I wanted to bring it up because I'm still more optimistic for EB3 because all other areas still current for EB3, meaning it seems there's some space for.
So when 28% to EB3 was allocated, it cleared.
Everybody, all other countries,
Yeah, but that was current before.
Yeah, but I mean,
So there's no demand in that category.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm pointing out. And basically, this is still new. This is I believe from December. The all other countries EB2 backlog of just a little bit over a month. But it's something. EB3 seems to be still in the stronger position than EB2. Sam, do you believe that's
so would you do a national interest waiver in January and apply it to the EB3? Can you do that?
I don't believe you can do it on the EB3 category.
Why not?
I don't remember. I thought it was only eligible for EB2.
All EB2s are eligible for EB3s.
Oh, but wait. So I thought you said national interest waiver on an EB3.
National interest waiver, I-140, and file you and then.
Oh, upgrading from EB3 to EB2 on a national interest waiver may be an exceptional ability if you didn't meet
for other countries.
the degree requirements.
Yes, for other countries, not for India, obviously.
Well, no, it's if you're in the other countries category, it's good to be in EB3 category right now because.
But if your application is EB2 based, you can jump on the EB3.
Oh, sure, you can do the downgrade that everybody was doing back in October 20. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So back, if you can put the other screen in front of us
our
here.
questions. Yeah.
Yes. So that can help us out.
Bing.
All right. Wonderful. So we digress, and we're trying to get to everybody's question here.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to kind of zoom it in.
Yeah.
USCIS honored green card for 2014 folks skipping early priority date. Yeah, now the pain begins and the unfairness is even more materialized.
Yeah.
Because now people are truly damaged by their mess.
They brought in cases so they could be sure they could issue the green cards. But I mean, people got green cards. There are people with priority dates after Yesvan that got their green cards, and I feel good for them, but I don't feel good for him.
Yes, so Yesvan has a follow-up question. Does this retrogression mean stalling EB1 by not accepting new application and help it in backlogged applications like mine? I mean 2013 folks. I don't understand.
Well,
maybe you can
I think the answer is no. If they're not accepting EB1s, it does not help EB2. It doesn't. The lack of visas available for EB1 just means there's functionally going to be less visas available for EB2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, this is the gentleman, I believe, that was denied, or they held up his case, not denied, but he could not approve him. They could not issue the green card because of retrogression. Do I have to apply for a medical before moving to the U.S.? Well, it all depends when it becomes current again, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it becomes current a year and a half or 2 years from now. It is very likely that they may ask you to do medical one more time.
Yeah, I mean,
or the consulate can use. Consulate has a lot of wide latitude.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been told, but it's the DS 260 expires after a year. They make you go through and re-verify that, so it's possible you can be asked for a new medical exam as well.
Yeah. So those are the questions that we had. I don't think we've missed any questions. I don't think so. So that's good. We're able to get to everybody. I was worried about that aspect of it. I will continue to have a little bit chat with Brian here for a couple more minutes. And if you guys are going to throw in more questions, there is availability and there's a little bit of time to answer your questions. Brian, but back to the question of visa availability.
Yeah.
When you do a cross flow, so everybody understand how the cross flow work, 28, and I don't want to put a calculator here and start calculating numbers, and I wish I can find my chart quickly, but we don't have to. 28% goes to the first preference categories and then get applied across the board with a 7% per country cap.
Yeah.
And another 28% goes to the second preference, and another 28% get the third preference.
Yeah.
Now, what we were all happy about with regard to the application of the 28% for the first preference is that it was all current.
Yeah.
And which means it was, half of it get used up, and then the other half.
Something less than 100% got used up. You could never know because the Department of State has better data than us.
But
hey, that's one more visa at least for the EB2 category.
Goes down to EB2, and then it gets applied to the most backlogged country, which is India EB2.
Yeah.
With China and India having a priority date, that priority date has to be cleared before you apply. Now that is a 7%. That's a 7% cap.
Yeah.
that they're applying it.
Yep.
Okay, and so we'll see what happens in the next 3 months. But they don't believe that that number can be satisfied. And if they don't believe that number, because it has to become current. Once it becomes current, then there's excess.
Yeah.
If it's not current, there's no excess AB1. So 28% of the 57,000 green cards that were spilled over from the family, of course, they're applied quarterly, 25% of each quarterly. Now, as it stands in January, there's no spill down or flow down from EB1 to EB2.
Yep.
And with that, meaning that EB2 is not going to move forward because it's not moving based on its own allocation of visas. It's not helping them.
Yeah.
There's zero movement forward. And if there's no movement from EB1,
yeah. Well, and then you're left with EB3, and the fundamental question I've been getting asked a lot lately, Sam, is can I undo my requested transfer of underlying basis, which USCIS requested that I do in the middle of October 2021? And the answer is, yeah, probably. I have found that we are getting the occasional RFEs from USCIS. As far as I can tell, Sam, they're not applying those transfer of underlying bases until your green card is ready to be approved. And basically, we're seeing RFEs that say, hey, what category do you want to be in? Seemingly to leave the door open to still be in the EB3 category if you had any claim to it originally when you filed your case. So, I mean, the policy on transfer underlying basis does say you can change around the employment-based categories possibly still. So,
and that's the prime example why the Eagle Act is a waste of time. When you have the 7% per country, and you think by limiting that on a 9-year schedule, that's going to solve the problem. I got a second preference, all chargeability backlog for the
Across
whole
the board, yeah.
for the whole world.
Yeah.
So what you got here, so everybody appreciates this. So what's going to happen here? You got November.
Shall I put it up on the screen? Or?
Yeah, you got November 2022 for all chargeability, right?
Yep. There it is.
Okay, and then you got 2019 for China.
Yep.
And then just skipping, El Salvador, okay, fine, November as well. And then you have October 2011 for India, right?
Yep.
Now, let's assume the 7% per country cap is removed. Let's say the Eagle Act is passed. And let's assume the 7% per country cap is removed.
Yep.
Okay? You know what's going to happen, Brian?
Well,
The October 2011 India might jump 4 years.
Yep.
Or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, it could be 5 years. So you're going to have 2015, 2016 India.
Yep.
And the whole world is 2016.
Yep.
And it's going to stop.
Essentially, yeah, it's going to get you're going to get the average of what all these numbers are, and well, it'll be much simpler visa bulletin, Sam. A lot easier to read, I guess.
100%. But nothing moves. So there is a people between now and 2016 who filed are going to get approved.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Life goes on. Then we're back again
Yeah.
to the same problem.
Yeah.
We're back again to the same problem, Brian, worldwide, and there is not going to be any movement just like right now.
Well, yeah. Well, tell that to the guy who's
But don't you agree?
Yeah, I fully agree. I fully agree.
So our listeners can understand what this thing is about, this Eagle Act. This is not about a solution that's going to move cases if you file in 2018 or 2019. Number one, a 9-year phase out is going to be the next generation of applicants.
Yeah.
And the next generation of applicant, Brian, a decade from now, it's going to be even more immigration. And there's going to be more demand for immigration.
Yeah. Immigration isn't stopping.
It's more, and it's going to be more severe. So this Eagle Act is net zero for us. It doesn't do nothing, and that's not proper English. But I had to say it because it's the only way I can emphasize it.
I'm the sort of guy who I do like equity. I do like everybody being in the same line. I think that our per country of birth is ridiculous. I mean, especially when, occasionally you'll find somebody, a pretty common scenario. It's, somebody, entire family from India, India holds an Indian passport, but, by virtue of, my mom was in another country when I was born. That person gets good for that person. I'm happy for that person who gets a faster green card, but it doesn't make much logical sense for the person who's, their neighbor, their entire neighbor growing up comes from the same, their family comes from the same spot, the same region, same culture. That person has to wait a decade just by some arbitrary, and there has to be some sort of standard, I guess. But it just seems, from the perspective I'm in now, it seems incredibly arbitrary.
The excitement for the Eagle Act is it's almost like a shot of steroid. If you're having a bad healthy, you feel good but it doesn't solve your problem. It doesn't fix our immigration problem. It probably get the immigration attorneys busier again because they're going to be filing tons of adjustments. They're going to approve hundreds and thousands of cases. Every immigration attorney got thousands of backlog cases. They're going to just relieve some of that, and then we're back.
I don't really think about it filing new cases though. It's going to be fine.
Adjustment of status within 2 years.
Yeah, I forgot about that aspect of it. Yeah, that's true.
But again, if you are a person who believe into staged negotiation, if you believe that, all right, I know it's not a solution, but fix the next 4 years. And
I do believe that I'll take something rather than nothing for sure. Yeah.
But there's nothing here, Brian, because it's 9 years from now.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, somebody asked, is 2014 going to come up in EB2 or EB3? I think it's going to be, no guarantees, but it's probably going to be faster than the Eagle Act.
Will not move the visa bulletin for you. If you're listening to us, it's not going to move the visa bulletin for you whatsoever.
Yeah.
Net zero. It's going to get you to file an adjustment in 2 years, and the good thing about it is obviously it opens up the option of moving on to other employers and also self-employment, which is a fantastic opportunity for you. So those are wonderful. Those are good things. But it doesn't give you a green card. As a matter of fact, it's going to create this bubble of people who...
I like equity and basically, second-class non-citizens. You're
non-permanent residents.
Yeah. Permanent residents, citizens, permanent residents,
and a
amorphous nightmare zone where you just you can't commit to a life in the United States because the U.S. immigration system is so broken that they cannot issue you a green card.
And you have to continue working.
Yeah.
So I'm not excited about the Eagle Act. They can take the Eagle Act and they shove it where the sun doesn't shine. In my opinion, it's worthless. Fix the immigration problem, and you fix the immigration problem by doing things. This 1960s laws that we're operating under right now needs to be completely redone. And we don't have a Congress that have, to get it done.
It's been what, the last major immigration reform was 1990, I think it is, and
that's
when our
I mean, there's pieces and pieces of legislation, but I think and then we have, by the way, a Supreme Court that's holding the administration's foot to the fire in terms of having any flexibility. They're coming back and say, don't get into Congress's area, don't propose legislation where really it's
that is the fundamental. It's a political question, but it's the conservative Supreme Court. If these folks believe that there's no wiggle room, you guys that we're not going to let you have an inch. Thereby, Congress is less likely or the executive is less likely to get away with something like, I don't know. Sam, let's say the president right now said, we're only counting one individual. We're not counting their family members in the EB2 category.
It may end up being that way. You need a president that has the charisma and the strength.
Yeah, but that would be locked up in. I mean, if somebody did that executive order right now, how long would that be locked up in the
You're not going to do an executive. You're not going to do it in an executive order. That would be stupid. You would do it in a revised legislation, revised, administrative policies and administrative law. You can say our read now of Congress's intent originally is that
you rewrite the regulations.
You re-regulate.
Yeah.
And you publish notice and allow people to comment on it and let it roll.
Well, you've popped the bubble then, Sam, because, you know, an ability to regulate Department of Homeland Security. How long did we wait for AC 21 regulations? About 20 years, you know?
It was only Obama that was able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, Trump wanted to destroy most employment immigration regulations, and
they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it properly. Well,
Yeah,
they didn't regulate. That was the problem. They just basically said, "Hey, let's start denying cases," and that's how everybody had a miserable 2017.
well, because the director of USCIS was not confirmed by Congress.
Yeah.
Why? Because the characters he
that.
was picking were so questionable that he could not even get his own party to
do it, to do
approve
things
them.
on the right time
And
frame, yeah.
all the legislation that they've passed were shut down by the courts as improper, not related, because they don't have the authority. So for the director to pass legislation, well, not legislation, regulations, he has to be approved by Congress. His people were not approved by Congress.
That was for those who aren't aware, that was what undid a lot of fun policy as part of the last administration. The court said, whoa, you're director of it. You're not a properly appointed director of the agency.
Come here. What's your name? Okay. Do you promise to be loyal to me 100%? Yes, I promise to be loyal. Okay. You take this agency. What about Congress? Forget about Congress. We're not wasting our time. And then when they pass regulations, all these regulations are illegal because Congress didn't approve them. So that's that we had with that with Trump.
Yeah.
Biden, nice guy. That's it.
Yeah, but everything's moving at the pace of usual government, and that's not good for.
You got a competent person at USCIS. She is absolutely on top of it. She is smart. She is pro-immigration. She is absolutely the right person. But the damage that was done, plus COVID, it makes it an insurmountable challenge for her and her people to be able to
Government doesn't turn around, doesn't turn.
And we don't have Congress that can vote to fix the problem. I mean, the bottom line is, unless this Congress get rid of people who are 99 years over there, I mean, you got to put some kind of a limit on Congress.
Do you want the next generation of these parties to take control?
I need young people in there. I need people who are. I hate Elon Musk, but I need people like Elon Musk who's young and energetic, right? He can. He's. I don't know. He's not born in the U.S. Do you have to be born in the U.S.?
I don't think for Congress, no.
You don't have to.
But I don't know. I think the political parties, the two major political parties in the country, don't want the other ones to have any sort of win whatsoever. And the only way things get done at this point is by having control of Congress in its entirety, which nobody has right now. I guess I'm saying my optimism for the next 2 years in terms of immigration reform is about, it's low. Is the bottom line. And
with that, it's 7:04. We will see you guys next year. More on employment immigration law. We had a great time this year with you guys. I know a lot of you may not be attending this, have gotten your green card. I know I got a call today of a good client of ours who we're not going to mention his name. We've been working very hard on this case for a decade. And got his green card
finally.
Couldn't
happen to a nicer guy.
Wonderful guy, and other people as well. So we're very happy. I mean, we're getting good news constantly. Not good news enough, I guess, is my problem.
Yeah, I say in 2023, I sincerely hope you can all push the unsubscribe button and you need to listen to us anymore because you got a green card.
Yes. And for you guys, you need to push the subscribe button because we're going to be working together on 2023. Don't listen to this guy.
No, when they have a green card, Sam, I don't want to listen to me. I'm hoping they get a green card.
They can have a green card and listen to us, Brian. What's wrong with you?
You're right. We got plenty of people here have gotten their green card and still have to come back, and for that, I applaud them.
Next week, we're not having a session. The week after, it will be January, and we're going to begin the year, hopefully, with some good news. I don't know what it is, but we'll keep you guys posted. Until then, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is. Please enjoy your time with your family and